Oh my God, there she goes again. Right in the blistering noon heat of the Louisiana bayou, when the air's thick with mud and salt, she walks bare feet, white dress, and under those heels, flecks of gold glittering like the sun chopped into shards. The villagers call her the Noon Woman, the one carrying the water's curse. But Kletchy isn't scared. Every time she passes, his heart pounds like a festival drum. They say anyone who catches sight of the golden scales under the midday blaze will never be human again. Is that a curse, or love's invitation? Long ago, in an old African-American bayou community deep in the south, where the endless Louisiana swamps reeked of mud and moss soaked into the heavy, wet air, a narrow dirt path hugged the water's edge, hidden among reeds taller than a man's head. Every noon, when the sun stood dead center overhead, and every shadow melted into the ground, a lone figure appeared around the bend. A silent girl glided through the village, no words, no pause, just slow, deliberate steps across the scorching earth, white dress fluttering in the hot breath of wind. In the sunlight, tiny droplets on her feet flashed like gold dust. The villagers called her the Noon Woman, the river's lost soul walking on land. No one knew where she came from. Some swore she was a New Orleans merchant's daughter, driven mad after watching her father vanish in a whirlpool. Others whispered she was the ghost of a young enslaved girl who drowned, fleeing through the marsh. Whatever she was, she came like clockwork, always at the hour the sun burned hottest, the moment time itself seemed split between morning and night. Only one person in the village dared wait for her, dared meet those still, quiet eyes. Kletchy, a young man with sweat-slick brown skin and a stubborn stare. Every day he sat beneath the old mango tree, the only one that had survived the great storm 10 years back. Its gnarled trunk and outstretched limbs felt like ancestor arms shielding him. From there he watched her pass, a white shape in the shimmering steam, a silent song his heart could still hear. On the fiercest days, the bayou sun poured down like fire, while cicadas and frogs croaked like old spirits gossiping. The air was so thick, each breath dragged mud into your lungs. Yet the instant she appeared, everything cooled. The heat softened, the stench of mud turned to mist. Kletchy sat motionless, pulse matching her footsteps, listening to a call drifting from far away. She never spoke, never looked, but something in her walk made him feel he had known her since another life. Sometimes, when the sun struck just right, a faint golden halo ringed her body light that belonged neither to the sun nor the water's reflection. He told himself it was a trick of heat until the day the storm rolled in. That noon, black clouds swallowed the sky, and wind tore across the swamp like stampeding water buffalo. Doors slammed, laundry was yanked inside, prayers rose against the coming flood. Only Kletchy stayed beneath the mango, waiting. As the first fat raindrops hit, he saw her step out from the dirt path, moving as if still dreaming. Her soaked white dress clung to every slender curve. With every footfall, the ground bubbled, breathing. Lightning cracked. In that white-hot blink, he saw what he had only guessed before. Golden scales blazing around her ankles, each one flashing the lightning back like tiny sun mirrors. They glowed, warm and alive, then vanished the instant he blinked, leaving only muddy water. Rain hammered harder. She never ran, never sought cover, just kept walking. Wind spun around her like invisible arms. Kletchy opened his mouth to call. His throat was sand, his voice drowned. She passed, leaving a ghost scent of wet wood and sea salt. He lurched after her, but his feet stuck fast to the earth. Evening fell, rain stopped, the bayou went still. Kletchy stood soaked, heart wild. Fear was gone. Only the ache of something precious slipping away remained. That night, he told his mother, Mama Ebele, about the golden scales. She stayed quiet a long time, then whispered, "Some spirits carry light inside water, son. That light ain't meant for mortal hands. Remember, peace is sometimes just a sleeping storm." Her words smoked into him. All night he lay awake. Outside, wind through the marsh sounded like distant singing. In the dark, he thought he heard his name breathed from the river's heart. He stepped onto the porch. The moon hung over the bayou, round and gold as fish scale. The water lay so flat it mirrored his every breath. He knelt, touched the surface. A small ripple spread, cool and soft as skin. From that spot, a faint blue glow rose, slid along his fingers, traced thin green veins of light beneath his own skin, then faded. He jerked back, trembling, yet instead of running, he leaned close and breathed. "If it's you, come back tomorrow." The wind died. One drop fell from a leaf, drew a perfect circle, dissolved. Next morning, the sun blazed gold again. Villagers worked the fields. Children shouted and played. No one believed in golden scales or light under skin, but Kletchi knew something had shifted. In last night's dream, she stood mid-river, scales flashing like 1,000 tiny birds taking flight, light spilling across the water, her voice inside his head. "Every step I take on land, the river loses one breath. Be careful, Kletchi. One day blood and water will become the same." He woke with salt water still on his palm. From then on, every noon he sat beneath the mango waiting. Because he knew the moment sunlight touched the tree's roots, she would pass between two worlds, between light and dark, between man and the river opening its eyes. And before we dive deeper into the story, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Oh, and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. We love knowing. The next noon, heat rose off the ground in thin smoke. The air thickened with rotting moss, stagnant water, and the taste of iron melting in the sun. The bayou lay still, its surface a vast mirror catching a cloudless sky. Beneath the mango canopy, Kletchi sat motionless, palm flat on the earth where roots twisted like sleeping snakes. His heart beat in the wind's rhythm. Inside the soil, he felt a faint tremor, someone breathing far below. When the sun hit its peak, she appeared. Same silhouette, white dress trembling in the hot updraft, black hair brushing her shoulders, gold flashing beneath her feet with every stab of light. But today her steps dragged, eyes lowered, as if listening to a secret. Kletchi watched until the reeds swallowed her. Something invisible pressed his shoulder, gentle, firm, and told him to follow. The path she left was carpeted in grass and wet leaves. Tall reeds scraped together, whispering in hoarse voices. The air cooled, the smell of water grew heavy. He walked slowly, afraid his footfall would shatter the fragile moment unfolding. Ahead, the white back floated on, never turning, never pausing. Deeper in, the swamp spoke louder, snakes sliding through mud, fish flicking in shallow pools, wind rattling dead branches. Then the trail opened into a clearing. A strip of water lay before him, narrow, but blacker and deeper than belief. Its surface was polished glass, reflecting her slender, motionless shape at the edge. Kletchi held his breath. She lifted one hand, fingertips skating the water, drawing a thread of light. From that touch, rings spread, each glowing faint gold, soft, fierce, like bottled sun breath. She took one more step. No splash, no sucking mud. She simply slipped downward, light as a falling leaf. White dress melted into black water. Golden scales flared once, then dimmed. Silence swallowed everything except the fresh scent of stirred water and the damp wind on his face. Kletchi stared at the glassy river, heart drumming an ancient festival beat. He stepped forward, knelt, touched the place she had vanished. The water bit cold. A shock raced up his spine, as if he had brushed the pulse of something alive beneath. Under the surface, faint blue ribbons flickered, curling into spirals. He yanked his hand back, breathing hard. It wasn't fear, it was the river, recognizing him and waiting. Dusk bled in. Walking home, light filtered through mist, turning the swamp honey-colored. Waterbirds lifted off, leaving brief golden streaks like scales shaken from their wings. Kletchi moved through that glow, the image of her silent descent looping in his mind. Night clamped down, the village went dead quiet. Far off, ritual drums rolled from a house praying for the harvest, steady, low. Kletchi sat on the porch, eyes lost in the dark bayou. Inside his skin, pale blue veins pulsed each time his heart struck, then faded. He raised his arm, watched water live inside his blood. Wind off the marsh carried salt, rot, and her scent. In it he heard the softest splash, "Don't be afraid." He never slept. When he shut his eyes, he stood mid-river, water so clear he saw the bottom. There she waited, no longer in white but wrapped in a cloak of large golden scales, each one a shard of sun sewn to water. Their light painted her face bright and sorrowful. Her lips moved without sound. The river spoke for her. Walk my road and your blood will turn to waves. He woke with wet hands, though no water had touched the house. Morning mist poured through the door like smoke. Tiny droplets beaded his skin. At his wrist, the blue lines had crept wider. He clenched his fist, felt warm blood beneath. Something was changing. It was not just love. The river had marked him. Next day, the village saw Klecci carry a small bundle of incense to the bank. He planted the sticks, lit them, let smoke coil until only ash remained. No one asked. In that community, some conversations belong only to the water. They only whispered, "That boy is talking to the river." From then on, Klecci grew quiet. He worked slowly, gaze always drifting past the edge of the world. At noon, people sometimes caught him at water's edge, palm pressed flat to the surface, lips shaping silent words. No one heard, but each time a soft ripple rose, someone breathing back. One evening, sun bleeding out, Mama Ebele watched her son come home soaked, fingers curled around something small. A piece of ivory shell, spiral grooves carved like river maps. Light from the shell slid across his skin, blending with blue veins that now reached his throat. She said nothing. In the dying light, his shadow stretched long as liquid, and she knew half her boy already lived in the other world. That night, the bayou sang again. No one could name the voice, but anyone passing the bank swore the salt wind tasted sweeter. And far out on the black water, a faint gold streak lingered like the print of a foot that had just walked away. Ever since the night of the far-off singing, Klecci lost all peace. Each dawn, when sunlight speared through the mango leaves, his skin prickled as if invisible fingers brushed him. Beneath the brown, faint blue thread still lived, pulsing with his heart, stubborn and quiet. His mother asked no more. She only lit incense at the ancestor altar, where a small bowl of water caught a pale green glow, as if even the house spirits knew something was turning over in its sleep. Then one noon, when the sun froze overhead, she came back. Not from the mist, not from the path, but out of pure light, right where the mango roots knotted into earth. She stood, white dress fluttering, black hair loose to her waist, and around her wrist a string of red beads glimmered like a lamp cupped in a stranger's hand. The gold on her skin no longer hid. Every tiny scale caught the sun and threw it back, her body dusted with solar grit. Everything around them fell mute. Even the birds forgot to call. Klecci rose, mouth sealed. In that heartbeat, he knew she had heard his midnight pleas. She stepped closer, stopping one arm's length away. Cool mist rolled off her, carrying salt, wind, and a strange sweet bloom that drifts on river water. When light slid across the scales on her ankles, he saw the trembling line between woman and spirit, thin, beautiful, terrible. She lifted her face, eyes deep as river dusk. Her voice arrived soft but sharp, like water striking a leaf. "I come from this river." The air itself changed color. Sweat on Klecci's neck turned ice. She went on, slow, afraid to break the moment. "Long ago, I was sent up to find the piece of soul I lost. I remember little, only that every step on land hurts the water. Every time I love something, my memories dissolve into the current." She knelt, palm to the damp earth. Beneath her touch, the mango roots shivered. A thin stream welled up around them, clear, glowing faint gold. She looked at him, eyes neither blaming nor begging. In them, he saw his own face warped and mingled with the river's. He stepped forward, drew from his pocket the red bead string he had carried for years, the one his grandmother said, "Give only to the one you choose forever." The beads shook in his open hand like small fires in wind. He tied them around her wrist. When the ends kissed, a needle of light shot out, raced along her veins, and spilled into the water. From the swamp's heart came an answer half-song, half-distant cry. No one knew the words, only that the tune made skin quiver as if something ancient were waking. Wind rose, clear sky bruised purple. Clouds raced like they were yanked by rope. Cold rose from the water and wrapped them both. In the mist, tiny sparks drifted across her skin, swimming, forming golden scales, then scattering. Wind braided her hair upward like reverse current. She glanced toward the river, eyes suddenly afraid. The ground shuddered. Beneath the surface, a silent whirlpool opened, light spinning inside it. From its throat came a low thud, the earth's own heartbeat. Klecci took one step back. He knew what was coming was not human. She closed her eyes, lips shaping a plea that dissolved in the wind. They heard us. The river is waking. The first gust hit, thick with old water stink. The mango tree flinched. Leaves drifted down, falling slow through pale gold light. She opened her eyes. Her voice rang now, two currents colliding. If I stay, the river will rage. But I haven't found my soul yet. Maybe it hides in your eyes, Kletchy. Before he could answer, water lapped his ankles. It flowed only around the two of them, never touching the tree, never spilling onto dry ground. It spun into a shining ribbon of moonlight. Inside the swirl, faces flickered eyes, reaching hands then melted. The gold on her body dimmed. Each scale winked out, leaving skin the color of fog. She backed toward the edge. Worry filled her gaze, yet the gentleness stayed. In the wet haze, she said, I must go before they arrive, but I will return when the water sleeps. The river opened beneath her. One last flash burst from the red beads. Then she sank, no splash, no struggle. The surface sealed, leaving only a thin gold thread curling around the mango roots. Kletchy stood, listening to water running backward inside his ribs. When the glow on the river died, he noticed the world had shifted. Wind gone, leaves still, but under the soil her pulse kept beating. He knelt, touched the ground. Where his fingers pressed, a single drop welled up, mirroring his face and the blue light threading his skin. The drop soaked into his palm, warm, salty. He understood. Their meeting had not ended. It had only just begun, and the soul she hunted might already be swimming in his blood. High above, the sun slid past its crown. The mango's shadow stretched crooked toward the bank, where a last fleck of gold lingered like a promise. After the day, Nara vanished beneath the river. The whole bayou changed color. Noonlight turned sharper, glittering as if thrown up from below instead of down from the sky. Wind quit blowing, yet every tree still swayed, rustling like invisible hands shook the branches. Frogs croaked in broken phrases, birds retreated, and after dark, no one stepped outside. The swamp carried a long, wet whisper that crawled down every throat. Folks said the river was breathing hard. Kletchy lived quiet, returning each day to the old mango. He no longer knew morning from noon, from dusk only 3 shades of the same light. Where the roots met water, tiny sparks blinked like fireflies buried in mud. Whenever his palm touched bark, the blue threads under his skin raced faster, answering a call. He understood. The river was still listening, and part of him already lived down there. One evening, when black clouds stacked at the horizon, the bayou surface bulged, something pushing from beneath. Cold gusts blew in, thick with salt and dead algae. No one dared the bank except Kletchy, staring into the muddy mirror. The water boiled, bubbles burst. Through the steam, he saw a thin ribbon of gold snake across the surface. It was not Nara, only her leftover spark. The ribbon coiled the mango trunk, climbed the bark, left a faint scorch. When it vanished, the tree groaned like its soul had been yanked out. Kletchy's palms burned, blood drummed in tide time. The river stirred inside his ribs. Then the storm hit. No warning, no wind, just darkness poured from the sky. Rain fell sideways, heavy as gravel, punching white rings across the water. Doors slammed. Ancestor statues were wrapped tight against the flood. Lightning ripped the clouds. In every flash, villagers glimpsed a giant shape rising human, yet not eyes red coals, straightening up from the riverbed. Kletchy stood on the bank, soaked, blue light now streaming over his whole body, neck, arms, living threads. Water climbed his knees, his chest. He never moved. Through the roar, he heard one low call, not words but feeling, anger, grief, demand give back what was taken. Thunder cracked. Water reared into spinning pillars. Every drop shot skyward, then fell like cold fire. In the churn, Nara's face flickered pale, sorrowful, half her golden scales dark. Her eyes begged and warned at once. He reached, fingers met only water. His skin steamed. A boom erupted from the earth itself. The river split, seams of light opening, water surging up, then crashing down, revealing for one heartbeat a black abyss. From it, a massive gold glow exploded, parting the flood into 2 walls. The shape that stepped out was huge, blurred, yet the face was familiar, half man, half god. Later, villagers swore they saw a man made of water walk from the river that night, eyes blazing, wet hair glowing blue, palms branded with golden fire. Klecci remembers nothing he did, only that his body melted, feet forgetting solid ground. Wind slapped his face, time slowed, rain turned to distant drums. Somewhere, Mama Abele's voice called his name, thin as a single string. He turned, but rain blinded him, only darkness and light colliding. Then every shard of gold on the river gathered into a human shape. Not fully Nara anymore, hair dissolving into current, body fog thin, scales mixed with foam. She lifted her palm toward him. In that instant, water froze midair. Rain stopped. Silence wrapped them. A voice bloomed inside his skull, hers or the river's. Do not fear. The river's rage is not for you, but for a broken bargain. The figure melted into gold, poured back into the flood. Abruptly, the river lay flat. Rain ended. Sky cracked open. Water raced away from his feet, leaving mud stink and floating trash. Villagers rushed out. The mango still stood, trunk scarred with a perfect golden spiral. Klecci sat against it, eyes shut, skin still pulsing blue in the dusk. They said the river god had chosen him, blessing and warning braided tight. When he woke, he lay on dry earth. No rain, no wind, only the bayou's long exhale. The surface shone innocent, as if it had never raged. He looked at his arms. Blue lines, now one unbroken river, beating with the tide. He knew he could never leave the water again. Far off, the sun drifted low, scattering gold across the mirror, thousands of tiny scales, the storm's leftover gift, and a promise that she still waited somewhere inside the mist, inside the river's watching heart. And now, dear viewers, pause for one breath. Hit subscribe before the next chapter drops, but only if this story truly touched you. Drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I read every single one. After the storm, the bayou woke from a long fever dream. The water lay still, yet brighter, clearer, as though someone had peeled away the river's sleeping skin. Fingerlings darted along the banks, their scales flashing the same leftover gold Nara once wore. Villagers stared. The water tasted sweet, filtered through salt, and the swamp stink was gone. They whispered, "The river god has cooled his temper." From that day the harvest turned. Sweet potato vines and corn that had withered under fickle rains shot green overnight. The village, well, dry for 2 years, brimmed to the rim. Soil stayed damp, wind stayed gentle, and the first mango blossoms opened on the ancient tree where Klecci waited. Yellow petals carpeted the ground, ripe sap smelled like warm honey spilled through the lanes. Children splashed at the edge, old women hung laundry in the sun, everyone laughing, certain blessing had come home. Klecci watched it all bloom and stayed quiet. A strange warmth filled him, half joy, half dread. Whenever his palm touched earth, the blue roads under his skin quickened, bright and independent. Sometimes the river spoke inside his head, soft rush of current, far-off murmur, or Nara's breath dissolving in the breeze. At night, while the village slept, he walked to the bank. Moonlight slid across mirror-calm water. His reflection stared back thinner, less solid, as if the river were borrowing his face. Each time he leaned close, the water shadow twitched, tugging gently downward. Once he thought he heard her. Stay where the blue light lives. Don't let the dark find you. Next morning, word raced. Rice ripe a full month early, nets heavy with shrimp, old sicknesses lifting like fog. People streamed to the river with rice cakes and rum, thanking the water. Elder Onu declared, "The river heard our prayers. It belongs to us again." Klecci stood at the back, silent. He knew blessings never travel alone. The first mango ripened skin smooth, glowing like molten gold. Its perfume made heads swim. A child snatched a fallen fruit, bit, and laughed that it tasted like candy. Everyone laughed. That afternoon the child burned with fever, raving about the long-haired lady smiling underwater. He recovered, but the story spread. That same night the bayou began whispering again. Wind carried the sour reek of rot. The moon hung low and blood-thin. A fisherman vanished. Only his empty boat drifted back, bottom ice-cold and soaked. Dawn found waterbirds perched thick around the mango, croaking hoarse warnings. Klecci stood beneath the branches. Fruit hung heavy, each one a tiny sun pulsing light onto the river. They were beautiful and wrong, the glow inside them moved. When he brushed one, the skin quivered and gave a faint heartbeat. He jerked away. A breeze rattled the leaves. They sounded like running water. That night, clouds swallowed the moon. He returned to the bank. The surface no longer slept. It rippled outward in perfect rings. At the center, gold light coiled into a slow whirlpool. From its throat rose the old voice, low and tired. Balance is still owed. Water must reclaim what was kept. He knelt, pleading without words. Only the river answered heavy, sorrowful. Morning brought the body of Elder Onu's grandson floating near the bank, eyes wide, fingers locked around a single mango leaf. They called it punishment but spoke it soft. That same day, Onu's prize cow dropped a blind calf dappled with gold dust. Eyes turned wary. Still, the tree flowered and fruited. Every night its gold spilled onto the water, painting moving constellations that breathed with the river. Some said it was Nara's gift. Others said a spirit was rising. Still, people came, picked, ate, gave thanks. The sweetness drowned fear. Kletchi watched blessing and curse grow from the same root. Each dawn, the water that dripped from his hands carried a faint blue shimmer. Sun no longer darkened his skin. When he stood close, the river lifted to meet him, a quiet greeting. He understood. The river was pouring itself into him, drop by drop, binding him forever to this bend. One evening, Mama Ibele pulled him aside, voice trembling. "Son, I dreamed your grandmother. She said the river is restless and that gold is fire shining into the abyss. Tell them to stop picking." Her warning drowned beneath village cheers. They carted mangoes to market, traded for rice and salt fish. Coin flowed. Everyone credited Kletchi's luck. He said nothing. That night he lay listening to waves kiss the bank. Inside the hush he heard Nara, faint and fading. "Be careful with the gold. When it overflows the water, the river will find another road." He opened his eyes. Blue light from his own skin painted the ceiling like rising steam. Outside, the mango tree burned in the dark, silent torch, beautiful and terrible. He understood. The blessing had reached its edge, and the river was ready to collect its due. On the third night after the golden dream, Kletchi woke inside a strange wind. The window hung wide. Wet air flooded the room, river smell everywhere. The blue light under his skin blazed brighter than ever, veins glowing like slow-burning silk. Outside, the river itself shone, not moonlight, but a fire kindled deep beneath. In the wind rode a rhythm, not quite words, steady as a far-off drum. He knew the river was calling. He threw on a thin shirt and walked. Every footprint left a faint blue scar on the mud. At the bank, fog stood thick as wool, yet a pale path opened small stones floating on the surface, each pulsing soft green like fireflies. He stepped onto the first. Water did not swallow him. It lifted, cool and gentle. With every footfall, the river lit up beneath, spreading life. When the last stone vanished, he stood in another place. Water no longer fell. It hung, swirling, glowing like frozen mist. Beneath him lay flat stone etched with ancient rings, breaths of the river carved in circles. In the center rose a temple, black coral pillars, walls flashing gold scales. The air tasted of salt and deep weed. Water murmured without direction. 7 flames drifted on the surface, each a different color: blue, violet, gold, red, green, silver, black. They circled a bright knot at the heart. When Kletchi entered, the flames shivered, then rose into 7 tall figures, slender, trembling light, faces drawn in water. They did not speak. They only looked, each gaze a separate feeling: anger, pity, fear, memory, sorrow, grudge, silence. A single voice rolled out of all 7, low and cavern deep. "You carry our mark." His chest caved under the weight. He bowed. From his wrists blue light spilled, pooling on the stone. The 7 brightened. "You took blessing without payment," they said. "You let blessing rot into curse. Let gold spill onto land. Now choose." The walls shimmered, scales writhed. A column of light rose from the water and shaped itself into Nara body soft as smoke, hair floating, scales patchy, eyes ancient with grief. When she met his gaze, the water froze. "I begged them to spare you," she whispered, reed thin. But the council under the waves never forgets a bargain. The seven turned, their lights braided into a whirlpool, then opened into a glowing door. The deep voice returned. Keep the blessing on land and balance breaks. Return it and you lose your human blood. Kletchi understood. Village life or his own soul, one price, one sacrifice. The blue inside him flared, reached for Nara's gold. Between them, a frail white spark formed, trembling like a held breath. Nara touched it. The piece of soul I hunted is in you, she said. Return it and I vanish. Keep it and you stop being you. River wind swept past, carrying distant ocean. He closed his eyes. The river sang its lullaby. Water, stone, ancestors calling. He opened them, looked at her, gold mirrored in his pupils. I choose to keep, he breathed. Because I already belong where water and heart beat the same. The temple blazed. 7 spirits went still. Then their light burst into 1,000 motes, swirling, fading upward. One last voice, cold and far. You have chosen. From now on, land and water live in your blood, but balance demands another price. Nara stepped close. Beneath her feet, water bloomed into golden petals. She laid her palm on his chest. White fire raced across his collarbone, down his arms, then ebbed. Her warmth poured into his veins. Now, she murmured, you will hear the river the way I once did, but beware, some voices are not mine. Light dimmed, flames guttered. The temple sank into darkness, leaving only the hush of water. Nara backed away, body dissolving into the final glow. When the water calls your name 3 times, she said, remember that will not be me. She melted into mist. Water rose. Kletchi was lifted, pushed backward, outward. In a blink, he knelt again on the bank beneath the mango. The river lay quiet, only a few blue sparks drifting. He collapsed, gasping, arms around his ribs. Beneath his skin, blue and gold had fused into a strange molten alloy. Lightning forked overhead, lighting his face human no longer, not yet God. Far below, the council under the waves struck a slow gong. Balance has shifted. Let us see how long the man can hold it. Wind crossed the swamp, thick with water and salt. On the far bank, the mango tree shivered. Every ripe fruit dropped at once, striking earth with soft, round heartbeats, the ground itself waking up. When Kletchi opened his eyes, dawn had slipped in. Fog lay thick, white as river breath. He lay beneath the mango, soaked, mud caked on his arms, yet warmth pooled inside his chest. Beneath the skin, blue and gold rivers braided, flowing toward the same sea. It didn't hurt, didn't comfort, just beat beside his heart. He knew he was back on land, but no longer fully owned by it. At the bank, the village had gathered. They stared, voices low. Some said the river spirit had moved in. Others swore he was heaven sent. Mama Ebele ran, arms out, tears carving clean lines down dusty cheeks. She touched his forehead and froze his skin cool as moving water. My boy, she whispered, you feel like a wave. He gave the smallest smile, no explanation. In the days that followed, he changed. Wherever his hand brushed bark, leaves greened deeper. When he crossed the rice paddies, ditch water raced ahead, and stalks straightened like soldiers. People came asking for rain, for growth. He said nothing, only knelt, palm to soil. Blue-gold light seeped out, earth shivered, new shoots punched up hours later. They left rice, dried catfish, cane syrup at his door, and called him child of the water. At first he believed the blessing had returned clean, but at night, lying still, other voices slid between the river's song, sighs without words, sometimes sad, sometimes sharp. Some nights footsteps circled the house, slow drags through ankle-deep water that wasn't there. When he opened his eyes, the light under his skin blinked in answer. The river was learning to speak with his blood. One morning the well brimmed so high it kissed the rim. His reflection stared back, skin below the collarbone gone pale green, eyes split gold and blue. He breathed hard. The water rippled. Nara's voice rose, muffled through fathoms. I'm still here, Kletchi, but so are they. Fear crept into the village. Children skirted his yard. Old women crossed themselves when he passed. Some nights the lamps died and wet silhouettes stood outside, silent, eyes glowing faint. He knew the council under the waves was watching, not to scare but to remind. The choice was not finished. The mango grew wider, shade swallowing the yard. Fruit ripened non-stop, gold lanterns lighting the river. People still picked, fear couldn't beat the taste. They swore the flesh cured fevers. Yet the more they ate, the stranger things grew. Water trickling inside walls at midnight, long-haired women calling from the bank in dreams, a buffalo collapsing with perfect spiral brands across its hide. Elder Onu called the village together. The river is eating the land. Someone woke its anger. We find the source. Every head turned. Kletchi stood quiet, light flickering under his shirt. Onu asked, "What did you do to the water?" Kletchi answered slow, voice deep as slow current. "I only kept my promise." The crowd stepped back. They swore a spirit spoke through his throat. From then on, he lived apart. He built a small lean-to beside the mango, half in water, half in dirt. By day, he worked the fields. By night, he listened to the river sing. Sometimes he trailed fingers across the surface and ripples followed like obedient dogs. Sometimes fish rose in silver schools, circling his shadow, scales flashing Nara's gold. He watched them and remembered her dusk sad eyes. One moonless night the dream returned, the water temple, 7 flames rekindled. Nara stood half woman, half wave, hair dissolving into current. Her mouth never moved. The river spoke for her. The river hungers. You gave your share to the land, but the land has not paid. Find the golden tree where blessing and curse began before the council wakes. He jolted awake, heart hammering. Wind shook the mango. Leaves slapped like waves on shore. Morning revealed the ground around the trunk soaked, though no rain had fallen. Thin streams leaked from the roots, racing straight to the river. He knelt, palm to bark. The tree's pulse met his blue light poured in. Gold light poured out, colors twisted into smoke. He understood. The mango had become the bridge between him and everything beneath. Evening brought Mama Ebele with a pouch of incense. She meant to pray for peace, but when gold flared from the trunk, she staggered back. Wind hissed through the branches. The river answered with low swells. "Kletchi, stop! You're waking them!" He couldn't hear her. He was drunk on light and water song, 100 hidden voices rising inside his skin, matching the river's heartbeat. When the glow faded, night had fallen hard. Kletchi sat alone, hollowed out. The river lay flat, mirroring a slice of moon. From its heart, a thin mist rose, curled, shaped itself into a silhouette only outline, dream faint. The eyes that looked at him were Nara's, sorrow and beauty braided. Wind died. The whole bayou held its breath. Deep below, something shifted soft, but miles deep. And he knew. The blood in his veins was no longer only his. All right, my dear watchers, if you're still here and loving this ride, drop a 1 or type Toivon or Day in the comments so we can dive straight into the next chapter. I'm waiting. From the night the gold fire rose around the mango, the village lost its sleep. Every midnight, the river flickered like caged lightning. Strange knocks rolled up from the swamp, deep funeral drums braided with distant singing, men's and women's voices calling a name no one dared repeat. Children woke screaming that cold hands tugged their ankles. Fish bellied up silver, nightbirds crashed into roofs and dropped like stones. No one spoke loud, but every heart pointed to Kletchi. At first light, the meeting house bell tolled. Elder Onu gathered the village in the square, voice raw. Since the water child returned, blessing and curse drink from the same cup. Fields flourish, graves open. If we do not cut the root, the whole village drowns. Silence answered, only water dripping from thatch. A man shouted, "Kletchi carries river light in his veins. Maybe he's no longer ours." The words struck oil. Whispers became roars. Kletchi walked barefoot through the crowd, mud to his knees, eyes swirling blue and gold. He stopped, said nothing. The glow under his skin dimmed to a steady pulse. "I bring no curse," he said, voice rolling like hidden thunder. "I only keep a promise to water." The promise chilled them, more than any threat. It did not come from his throat, but from somewhere wetter, older, echoing up a well. Mama Abella pushed forward, seized his hand. "Come home, son." Her fingers met river-cold skin. She let go as if burned, tears cutting channels through dust. The square froze. Onu raised his staff. "If you are innocent, let the river judge. Still water clears you. Angry water damns you." That afternoon they marched to the bayou. Gray clouds pressed low, wind flattened grass. The mango blazed with fresh gold blossoms. scent thick as syrup mixed with mud and salt. Kletchi stood at the trunk, arms loose, eyes on the river. "Begin the cleansing," Onu ordered. A woman brought a bowl of black water drawn from the deepest hole. Tradition. The accused dips. Calm water means human, storm means guilty. Kletchi lowered his hands. The bowl boiled. Blue gold light poured from his wrists, spun into a glowing whirlpool. Villagers screamed. A child pointed. "The water's alive." Earth trembled. Mango petals rained, each turning to drifting sparks. The bowl cracked, shards flew. From the river's heart, a bass drum rolled long, endless. The surface bulged. A perfect gold ring opened in the middle of the bayou. Someone shrieked, "The god comes." Kletchi knew better. The council under the waves had come to collect. Wind whipped sand. Water climbed the bank. In the mist, 7 tall shadows rose slender, dripping, eyes firefly bright, hair streaming in unseen currents. They walked on water as on stone. Villagers dropped to their knees, begging. The 7 ignored them. Every gaze pinned Kletchi. A single voice filled every skull. "You mixed blood with river, yet let mortals touch the gift. Balance is broken. Land must pay." Elder Onu folded, staff clattering. The river blazed, painting terrified faces. Kletchi's chest clenched. Blue fire flared through his skin. Water curled around his legs. In the roar, he heard Nara, faint, gentle. "Don't be afraid. I'm holding them back. If they take, let me take it for you." He shook his head, no sound, only the motion. The earth split. Water geysered skyward. Villagers fled. Wind howled. The mango lurched. Roots ripped free, flinging mud. Kletchi stood in the chaos, arms wide, trying to cradle the rage. The 7 merged into one towering shape, human outline, eyes sun-bright, skin scaled in living gold. Its voice cracked like breaking ocean. "You loved a spirit. Choose again." He understood. Last chance. River equals lose humanity. Land equals village swallowed. The world held its breath. He heard his mother's heartbeat, a child's sob, Nara's whisper under miles of water. He lifted his face. "If I must choose," he said, clear as a bell over storm, "I choose both. Let me be the bridge." Light exploded. Wind hurled bodies backward. Villagers fell, arms over faces. In the white heart of the blast, Kletchi vanished. The river sealed. Only soft waves and mango perfume remained. When eyes opened, the tree stood charred, roots naked, yet gold embers glowed in every crack. Onu knelt, muttering. The god reclaimed his own. No one argued. That night the bayou lay silent, as if it had never breathed. But far below, some swore they heard singing soft woman's voice braided with slow drum, wordless, telling of a boy who became the span between dirt and deep. Next morning the flood drained. In the mud beside the roots lay a single golden cowrie shell, pulsing faint light. Inside, one drop of water that never dried. Mama Ibale lifted it, pressed it to her heart. Tears fell. From the shell came the softest sound, her son's heartbeat, still beating under the river. After that night, the bayou fell into a hush so complete it felt sacred. No fish slapped the surface. No heron cried. Only thick, salty mist rose from the water like memory breathing. Villagers woke to a pewter sky and ground soft as tears. Where the mango had stood, only a charred stump remained, a black scar the size of a house. But what silenced every tongue was the golden cowrie in Mama Ibele's palm. Its light painted her tears crystal, and no one dared touch it. They circled her. Elder Onu knelt, lips moving without sound. A breeze drifted past, carrying the ghost of ripe mango, sweet, impossible. Someone whispered the spirit of Kletchi still walked here. All morning the clouds refused to lift. Sunlight hid behind fog, waiting for permission. Mama Ibele dug a shallow cup beneath the stump, laid the shell inside, and covered it. She never spoke. When her hand left the soil, a single ribbon of light rose, curled into a perfect ring, and vanished. Everyone saw. No one named it. They simply knew. Something holy had settled. In the days that followed, the air softened. The river stopped growling. Waves learned gentleness. Fish returned in silver clouds. One misty dawn, the impossible happened. From the blackened stump, a green shoot pushed free. Bark flaked away. tender leaves unfurled, edges rimmed in sunrise gold. In 7 days, the tree overtopped the roofs, branches drooping to kiss the water, canopy wide as an open hand. Children played beneath it and swore they heard singing inside the trunk. Grown-ups brushed a leaf and felt old grief melt. The bedridden touched the bark and walked the next morning. The sleepless sat in its shade and slept like stones. The village exhaled. Blessing had returned not from water alone, but from the marriage of both worlds. On the first full moon, Mama Ebele went alone to the river. She sat beneath the new mango. Wind combed the leaves. Gold light slid across the water like silk. For one breath, she saw a tall figure on the far bank, blue haze around him, face gentle as first light. Real or wish, he smiled. She pressed her palm to her heart. "My son," she whispered, "you found your place." From then on, they called it the Tree of Balance, leaves veined gold and blue. A small altar rose beneath it, no rice, no rum, only river water and a single mango, offered in thanks to the water child. They told their young, Kletchi gave himself so river and land would not devour each other, so love would not be erased. Every year, on the brightest moon of the rainy season, they hold Balance Night. Lanterns drift downstream, tiny candles that bow to the current, yet never drown. The new elder reads the old prayer, ending always. May water remember land remember water, and love remember itself. Children grow up greeting the tree, "Hello, keeper of balance." If they stand still long enough, a ring of ripples spreads soft as a returned wave. Mama Ebele, silver now, still walks to the bank each dusk. She says she hears a bamboo flute, her boy's old tune for the girl in white. Faint, but enough to curve her mouth. Sometimes, when she looks down, gold scales flicker far below, gliding like quiet fish. People say that is Nara, riverborn, no longer fleeing, no longer sad, only keeping watch with Kletchi so the world stay kind. On certain nights, when the moon tilts, the water mirrors two silhouettes walking side by side, one gold, one blue, until mist swallows them. Those who see it never speak of fear, only of warmth, as if something sacred brushed their ribs. Years roll on, the village swells, strangers arrive, elders leave, yet the Tree of Balance stands, leaves still two-toned, fruit still impossibly sweet. Cuttings travel the Mississippi, planted along every angry bank. Wherever root meets river, the water calms. The story of Kletchi travels farther, carried in night songs, in drum circles, in the hush before baptism. Wherever African blood remembers the drum, they sing of the boy who became the hinge between dirt and deep, between promise and forever. Tonight, when wind lifts the leaves, they ring like quiet bells. Moonlight shatters into 1,000 gold-blue coins across the river. Listen closely. Beneath the hush rolls a slow, steady drum, Kletchi's heart, still beating with the river, reminding the world that some loves do not end in time. They end only when water forgets land, or land forgets water, or love forgets its own name. Years after the night, the blackened mango burst into green. The village had grown into something new. Red-tiled roofs replaced cedar shingles. Stone paths threaded the lanes. Children born after the storm knew only sweet, cool water and stories of a time when the river raged. Yet every full moon their parents warned, never throw stones at the river. Never call your own name across it. They knew the water still had a soul, and somewhere beneath the shine, the keeper of balance listened. The mango now scraped the clouds. Trunk so thick, 4 grown men could not link arms around it. Leaves shifted color with the hour's gold at sunrise, blue at dusk. Sap wept from the bark, smelling of ripe fruit and distant sea. People said that was Kletchi's blood fused with river spirit, forever flowing. Each flood season the river turned neither clear nor muddy, but a living turquoise shot through with gold, as if light itself had dissolved into every drop. Villagers returned to the bank, floated candles, sang the old prayer. Children laughed, elders hummed, yet every voice dipped when the singing paused. In that hush, some swore they saw 2 eyes open and close beneath the surface, gentle as a greeting. One southern wind evening, Mama Ebele, now a tiny silver-haired woman, walked to the river alone. She carried the white scarf Nara had left on a branch lifetimes ago. She sat beneath the Tree of Balance. Moonlight silvered the water. The tree's reflection glowed like a halo. She smiled. "Son, Mama's coming home." A breeze answered. A single ripe mango dropped, rolled, kissed the river. A perfect gold ring spread outward. She closed her eyes, peaceful. Next morning, they found her asleep against the roots, face calm, mouth curved in the same small smile. They buried her beneath the two-toned leaves, beside the golden cowrie. That night, the river rose not to destroy, only to touch the roots, a quiet kiss goodbye. From then on, people spoke of three lights beneath the water, blue, gold, and white, three lamps that never drifted apart. Generations turned. The tale of Kletchi and Nara grew wings. Some said he became the river god, cowrie in hand, keeping earth and water from war. Others swore he and Nara melted into one current, half walking the bank, half dreaming under the moon. Every telling ended the same: love. Many years later, a child was born with one gold eye, one blue. When she touched the river, soft rings answered. The new elder named her Child of Two Worlds, said the keeper's blood ran in her veins. No one knew myth from truth, only that the girl spent hours listening to water, smiling at voices only she heard. One rain-cleared afternoon, she ran to the bank, cupped her hands, and whispered, "Thank you for letting us live on both land and water." For one heartbeat, the surface flashed. A man and woman, hand in hand, fading into light. From that day, the bayou never raged again. Storm or drought, the river rose just enough to feed the soil, then slipped away. Villagers said Kletchi still walked the old path in water's shape. Nara still sang from the riverbed. At sunrise, their song braided with wind in the leaves, and the world turned another gentle circle. Now, travelers come from everywhere to see the two-colored mango, to hear the storyteller on the bank sing the ancient line. There was a boy who loved a river spirit. So water would remember land, and land would remember water. The song drifts south on small waves, crosses oceans, slips into exile camps, and midnight kitchens where black blood still remembers drums. Wherever it lands, hearts lean toward home, toward the place where love and soul are the same word. At the last light of day, the river mirrors the final sun, and the golden cowrie gleams beside the roots, pulsing like a quiet reminder. Love does not vanish, it only changes form. The river does not die, it only flows, and everything that belongs to it, man, spirit, memory, returns with the turning of water. The keeper of balance no longer has a name. He has become the heartbeat of the world inside every drum, every breeze, every prayer whispered along the banks. When night hushes and someone hears a soft voice beneath the surface, they know he is still there, watching without sound, making sure water and land never forget each other. Wind moves through the bayou again, carrying ripe mango and salt breath. The river lies quiet, yet stand long enough on the bank and you will hear it. A far-off drum, low and steady, the heartbeat of someone still pulsing beneath the water. Some say it is Kletchi. Others swear it is Nara, still singing love songs for the land. Whoever it is, that rhythm reminds us. Every soul, waterborne or earthbound, is only looking for a place to be heard. The two-colored mango still spreads its shade. Gold leaves drift down with blue, weaving a patchwork of light across the ground. Beneath the roots, the golden cowrie rests, silent heart of two worlds. On quiet nights, villagers light candles and retell the tale to their children. Love does not have to conquer. It only has to be deep enough to bridge. If you have ever loved, ever lost, ever found yourself again in the storm, remember, inside you runs a river, still flowing, carrying away sorrow, leaving light behind. And now, before we leave this story, hit subscribe, drop a heart, and share this video with your people across America, so someone, somewhere, rushing through the day, can still catch Nara's and Kletchi's song and believe that love, when it is true, can hold the whole world steady.